You're a failure, Mom. Dad's new life is nothing like you. That's what my daughter told me, until the day I turned everything around. I'm Laura, 41 years old, and I've been an accountant for more than 21 years. Up until 5 days ago, I thought of myself as nothing but a failure. That's what Chloe, my daughter, never stopped reminding me. But now, as I sit in my freshly redone apartment with a glass of wine that costs more than I used to spend on myself in a whole month, I know for sure I wasn't the failure here. The whole thing started one Tuesday in March at El Camino, a Mexican spot downtown. I'd asked Chloe to meet me for lunch, hoping we could somehow rebuild the bond that seemed to shrink with every phone call. She was in her third year at Hamilton, a school I was pouring $30,000 a year into, straight from my accountant's paycheck. Chloe walked in 15 minutes late, like always, wearing a dress I didn't recognize. No doubt a gift from Vanessa, my ex-husband Daniel's shiny new wife. She barely said hello, plopping down and scrolling on her phone like I was just another interruption. "Mom, I need to talk to you about the car," she said, eyes glued to her screen. "That Toyota you gave me is embarrassing on campus." Then she added, "Vanessa said she can help me get something better." My stomach sank. That Toyota Corolla wasn't brand new. It was a 2020, but it was spotless, safe, and had cost me $16,000 straight out of savings. "Chloe, that car is reliable. You should be grateful for—" "Grateful?" She cut me off, finally looking at me. The look in her eyes stung deep. "Mom, you don't get it. Vanessa drives a convertible Mercedes. She knows what it means to have style. Unlike you." I tried to stay calm, quietly ordering drinks from the waitress who walked up, but Chloe wasn't done. For the next 30 minutes, she compared everything in my life to Vanessa's. My little 3-bedroom home versus their mansion, my affordable Target clothes against Vanessa's designer wardrobe, the practical gifts I gave her compared to the spa days Vanessa paid for. "Sometimes, Mom," she said while chewing on her quesadilla, "I wonder how you and Dad ever ended up together. He's grown, you know. He found someone who actually understands what success looks like. Vanessa has class, ambition. She's not a failure like—" She cut herself off, realizing others were listening, but it was too late. That word, failure, hit me like a slap. "Like me," I muttered, my voice lower than I wanted. Chloe just shrugged, like she'd said something obvious. "Don't take it personal, Mom. Vanessa really has it together. She's inspiring." I paid the bill in silence, ignoring the stares from nearby tables. I dropped Chloe off at her dorm without a word and drove home with my hands shaking on the wheel. Later that night, sitting alone in my kitchen, staring at the mountain of bills, including the tuition for the daughter who treated me like a burden, I faced something I had been denying for 4 years. 5 years since Daniel left me for Vanessa, his 29-year-old secretary. 5 years since my life turned into a mess of child support, college costs, and my self-worth slipping away. 5 years of watching him rebuild with a woman who never lifted a finger to raise our daughter, yet somehow got to play the fun mom. I still remember the day he left. I was planning Chloe's 17th birthday party, stressing over every last detail, when he casually announced he'd found his true happiness. Vanessa was pregnant. Later, I found out that pregnancy had started months before he even told me about the affair. The divorce was brutal. Daniel, who had been a half-present husband and barely there father, suddenly transformed into Dad of the Year. He fought for custody, not out of love for Chloe, but because Vanessa convinced him they could be a perfect little family. I walked away with shared custody on paper, but in reality, Chloe spent more and more time in their house. The house that I had helped pay for during 16 years of marriage was now theirs. I moved into a rental and watched my teenage daughter get swept up by Vanessa's glittery lifestyle. Spa trips, shopping sprees, resort vacations, all bankrolled by the same sales manager salary Daniel had always made. Somehow now it stretched further. What Chloe never knew, and what I couldn't bring myself to tell her, was that I paid far more than just her college. The divorce agreement forced me to cover everything until she turned 21. Child support, medical bills, school, transportation. Daniel contributed a measly $400 a month, barely enough for a week of her expenses. While Vanessa paraded around in luxury dresses and spoiled clothing with fancy restaurant meals, I worked overtime just to keep her health insurance active. While they snapped pictures at spas for Instagram, I pinched pennies to make sure Chloe had everything she needed at school. But in her eyes, I was the failure. The mom who gave boring gifts like books and clothes. The mom who cared about budgets and bills. The mom who said no when things got too expensive. Vanessa got to say yes to everything because she never had to pay for anything real. That night, after the humiliating lunch, I did something I'd never done before. I called my sister Karen in Denver and finally let it all out. For 3 hours, I poured everything into the phone. Years of sacrifice no one recognized, years of being treated like a walking ATM, years of watching my daughter idolize a woman who never sacrificed a single thing for her. "Laura," Karen said, her voice steady, "don't you see what's happening? They've set it up so you pay for everything, while Vanessa gets all the credit." And deep down, I knew she was right. I always knew the truth deep down. But saying it out loud meant admitting I had failed as a mother, that I'd raised a daughter who had no respect for me. It meant confessing that 19 years of sacrifices might have been wasted. "What do I do, Karen? She's my daughter. I can't just walk away." "Of course you can." Karen cut me off. "Chloe is 20, Laura. She's grown, and adults need to face the consequences of their choices." I hung up around 1 a.m, but couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping a tea, staring at my laptop. On the screen were all the bills I covered every month: tuition, car insurance, health insurance, even the credit card I gave Chloe for emergencies. Those emergencies, of course, meant pricey clothes and fancy dinners I'd never buy for myself. By 5 a.m., I made a choice that would change everything. I logged into every account and started cutting the ties. First, I canceled the extra credit card. Then I called the university and froze future tuition payments. After that, I shut down her car insurance. And finally, I pulled up the tracking app for the Toyota parked at her dorm. At 7 a.m, I drove to Hamilton with a rented tow truck. The GPS led me right to the car. I unlocked it with my spare key, started the engine, and had it loaded up. A few students watched, but nobody stopped a middle-aged woman from reclaiming her own vehicle. By the time I got home, the sun was coming up. I tossed the Toyota keys into the kitchen drawer and headed for the shower. For the first time in 4 years, I felt something I thought I'd lost for good: control. The first call came at 10. Chloe was frantic. "Mom, my card isn't working. I tried to get coffee and it got declined. And where's my car? It's gone from the parking lot." I was at work, going over tax spreadsheets when I answered. My voice was steadier than I expected. "I canceled the card, Chloe, and I brought the car home." "What? You can't do that. I need those things." "Need or want?" I asked, still typing. "Because yesterday you made it clear I was just a failure who didn't understand success. So maybe Vanessa, the successful, inspiring one, can handle these responsibilities now." The line went quiet, and then the crying started. Not real crying, the practice, manipulative kind Chloe had been perfecting since she was a teenager. "Mom, you can't do this to me. I've got exams in 3 weeks. I need to focus on studying." "Good," I said flatly. "That's exactly what college is for, studying, not blowing money on clothes and restaurants." "But how am I supposed to get around? What about food?" I let out a long sigh. "Chloe, you're at a university with a cafeteria, buses, trains, and thousands of other students who manage just fine without an unlimited credit card." She hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Daniel. "Laura, what the hell are you doing?" His voice was sharp, commanding, the same tone he used to use when he wanted to make me feel small. I'm done paying for a daughter who treats me like garbage, I said, surprising myself with how firm I sounded. You can't just cut everything off. We have an agreement. Yes, we do. And if you bothered to read it, you'd see that I can suspend support if Chloe shows extreme disrespect or ingratitude. My lawyer explained it to me yesterday. That was a lie. I hadn't spoken to any lawyer, but Daniel didn't know that, and his hesitation told me he didn't know the fine print of the agreement he signed 4 years ago either. Look, Laura, I know Chloe runs her mouth sometimes, but she's young. She's 20, Daniel. When I was 20, I was working 2 jobs to pay my own way through school. Maybe it's time she learned some responsibility. You're being unreasonable. Vanessa is very upset about this. I let out a bitter laugh. Vanessa's upset? Well, maybe she can put all that class and ambition of hers to good use and step up for once. You know our financial situation doesn't allow. Financial situation? Daniel, you just bought Vanessa a Mercedes. You went to Bahamas last month. Don't talk to me about struggling. There was silence on the line. Then his tone softened, turning oily, manipulative. Rach, sweetheart, I know you're hurt about what Chloe said yesterday, but you can't take it out on her. She's our daughter. Don't call me sweetheart, I snapped, cold anger running through me. And I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done enabling bad behavior. But she needs things. How's she supposed to get around? How's she supposed to eat? The same way every other college kid does, by being resourceful and responsible. Or maybe you and Vanessa can finally step up as parents. He hung up without another word. 3 minutes later, my phone rang again. Vanessa. Laura, we need to talk, she began, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. About what, Vanessa? About Chloe. I know you're upset, but you have to think about her well-being. I've been thinking about her well-being for 20 years. Now it's your turn. You know our financial situation doesn't allow. Complete. You just bought Vanessa a Mercedes. You went to Bahamas last month. Don't talk to me about struggling. Silence. Then she said, Well, it's not that simple, Laura. I have my own expenses, my own responsibilities. Oh, I'm sure you do. And what are those responsibilities, Vanessa? Shopping trips with Chloe, spa days, lunch dates? I contribute emotionally. Chloe needs a strong female figure in her life. The irony was so thick, I nearly laughed out loud. A strong female figure. Vanessa, you're 33, you've never had a real job, and you live off my ex-husband's paycheck. You've convinced a 20-year-old kid that I'm a failure because I actually pay the bills instead of flashing wealth around. That's not fair. You want to know what's not fair? 5 years of me shelling out 30 grand a year for tuition, plus insurance, plus a credit card, plus every other expense, while you got to play the fun mom? You want to know what's not fair? Hearing my own daughter call me a failure after never working a single day in her life. Laura, you're being dramatic. Dramatic? It's finding out you dropped $400 at a spa last week, money that technically came from the same paycheck Daniel should be using to support his daughter, while I cut my own health insurance just to keep hers going. Dead silence on the other end. So, here's how this works. You want Chloe to keep her little luxuries? Then you pay for them. You want her to have a car? Buy her one. You want her to have a credit card? Put it in your names. But I'm finished being the invisible ATM while you play hero. You can't do this to her, Vanessa shrieked, her voice cracking. For the first time, I heard panic in it. Of course I can. She's grown, and grown-ups learn quick that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. I hung up and set my phone on silent. By the end of the day, I had 15 missed calls. 9 from Chloe, 4 from Daniel, 2 from Vanessa. I ignored every single one. That evening, when I walked into my apartment, a text from Chloe was waiting. "Mom, please, I need the car back. I swear I'll be more respectful." I typed back, "Respect isn't a promise, Chloe. It's something you show with actions." She replied instantly, "But I need it for work." "What work?" I shot back. No reply followed. That night, I made dinner for one, grilled salmon with asparagus, a dish I hadn't cooked in years because Chloe hated fish. I opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving and sat on my balcony watching the sunset. For the first time in 4 years, I didn't have to check if Chloe had gotten back to her dorm, or worry if she'd maxed the card, or wonder if she was safe behind the wheel. For the first time in years, those weren't my burdens anymore. At 11 p.m., my phone rang again, from an unfamiliar number. "Hello?" "This is Brooke, Chloe's roommate." My heart jumped. "What happened? Is she all right?" "She's okay physically, but she's been breaking down for hours, crying, saying you abandoned her. Some of us chipped in and bought pizza because she said she had no money for food." A pang of guilt hit me, but I forced myself to breathe. "Brooke, she's an adult. She has resources. There's a cafeteria, student aid programs, and part-time jobs. She just never had to use them before." "But she's really bad, Miss Laura. I've never seen her like this." "Thank you for calling. I know you're worried, but sometimes people have to go through hard times to grow. Chloe will be fine." When I hung up, my hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to grab my keys and rush to her dorm, but another part, one I'd buried for too long, reminded me of what Chloe said at that restaurant. Failure. No, I wasn't a failure. I was a woman who raised a daughter, carried a family, kept a steady career for 21 years, and survived a divorce that nearly broke me. I had been humiliated, disrespected, and overlooked, but I still had the strength to protect my dignity. Chloe had to learn that choices carry consequences, and I had to learn it wasn't my job to shield her from every one of them. I finished my wine and went to bed. For the first time in months, I slept straight through. The weekend passed in quiet. Calls kept coming in, but I blocked Chloe, Daniel, and Vanessa. I needed the silence, space to think about what I'd done and where to go from here. Sunday, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the mall by myself, not to buy necessities, but to stroll and remember what it felt like to have time of my own. Standing in front of a women's clothing store, I realized I hadn't bought anything for myself outside of work clothes in 3 years. I walked in, tried on a navy dress, and bought it without hesitation. It cost $180, the same as what I used to spend on Chloe in a single week. Sunday, I called Karen. She answered right away. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "Scared," I admitted, "but also free. It feels strange." "Has Chloe tried to call you?" "She did. I blocked her." "Good. Laura, don't second-guess yourself. She's not a child anymore. She's an adult. You raised her to be smart and capable. Now it's on her to prove it." "But what if she can't? What if she falls apart?" "And what if she doesn't? What if she realizes she's stronger than she thought? What if she finally understands what you sacrificed for her?" I spent the rest of Sunday cleaning the apartment. Really cleaning, not just rushing through between Chloe's calls. I cranked up loud music and even danced while I worked. When I was done, I looked around at my small place and thought, it's not much, but it's mine. On Monday, I pulled into the lot after work and spotted Daniel waiting by my building. He looked older, worn down. "We need to talk," he said, stepping out of his car. "No, we don't," I replied, walking past him. "Laura, please, 5 minutes." I stopped, but didn't turn. 5 minutes. "Chloe's desperate. She can't get anywhere. She's got no money for anything besides the cafeteria." "Exactly what most college kids live on." She called Vanessa crying, begging for help. That made me pause. I turned to face him. "And?" Daniel dragged a hand through his hair. And Vanessa said their financial situation wouldn't allow them to suddenly take on all those responsibilities. Interesting, told Daniel. So this woman who's supposedly so successful and inspiring can't manage to help the stepdaughter she claims to love. It's not like that, Laura, he insisted. It's a lot. 28,000 a year, plus insurance, plus the credit card, plus the car. Exactly, I cut in, feeling an icy satisfaction. It is a lot, and I've been carrying all of it while you two enjoyed the perks. But you've always handled it. You've got a steady job. I have a steady job because I worked for it. I've been paying these bills because I chose to, but now I'm choosing something different. Laura, be reasonable. You can't just abandon our daughter. I didn't abandon anyone. I stopped enabling her disrespect and your dependence. There's a big difference. He went quiet for a while, then tried again. Look, I know Chloe said things that hurt you. She was wrong. She's young. She didn't mean... Of course she meant it. Every word. And you know why? Because you and Vanessa spent 4 years convincing her I was beneath you. You made me out to be the boring mom, the one who said no, who cared about money, while Vanessa got to play the fun mom. But you forgot one thing. I'm the one who made it possible for her to say yes. Daniel didn't argue. He couldn't.
So here's what's going to happen, I told him. You want Chloe to have all the extras? Then you pay for them. You want her respect? She's going to have to earn it back. Because I'm finished being treated like a failure by people who rely on me. If you can't cover everything, then you'll have to make choices. Just like me. Just like any adult. He looked frustrated. Laura, this is cruel. Cruel, I scoffed. Cruel is 4 years of you letting Chloe tear me down. Cruel is standing by while your wife humiliated me through my own daughter. Cruel is treating me like a bank while you two wore the crowns for being the fun parents. We never... Of course you did. When was the last time Chloe thanked me for paying her tuition? When was the last time she acknowledged I sacrificed my own well-being so she could have a future? When was the last time you included me in a single decision about her life? He had no answer, because the truth was, never. So no, Daniel, I said firmly, I'm not going back. Chloe's smart and capable. Time for her to prove it. He left without another word. I went upstairs, made myself dinner, and felt an unexpected calm settle over me. I was halfway through a documentary when the phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mom? Chloe? Chloe, please, I need you to forgive me. I didn't mean those things. I was angry. I don't even know why. You know why, I said quietly. That's not true. I love you, Mom. You know I love you. Loving and respecting aren't the same, I told her. You can love me and still see me as a failure. You can love me and still treat me with disrespect. I don't disrespect you. Chloe, you called me a failure in public. For 4 years, you've compared me to Vanessa, a woman who never sacrificed a cent for you. You treated my sacrifices like they were just obligations, never once acknowledging what they cost me. She sobbed into the phone. Mom, I'm sorry. I really am. Please forgive me. I forgive you, I said gently. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were. What do you mean? I mean, you're an adult now, and adults take responsibility for their choices and their words. But I need the car. I need the card. How am I supposed to? You'll figure it out, just like millions of college students do every day. Mom, please, don't do this. I swear I'll change. I don't want promises, Chloe. I want actions. I want you to start taking responsibility for your own life. But I don't know how. Then it's time to learn. Mom, I love you. Please don't abandon me. I'm not abandoning you, Chloe. I'm giving you the chance to grow into the strong, independent woman I
always knew you could be. And if I can't, then you'll find out you're stronger than you think, just like I did." I hung up and cried. I cried because it hurt, because it was necessary, and because for the first time in 20 years, I had chosen my dignity over making life easy for my daughter. At 10 that night, a text came from another unknown number. "Miss Laura, this is Tyler from Hamilton. I'm Chloe's friend. She asked you to tell you she got a part-time job at the library. She wanted you to know." I smiled through my tears. Maybe she could do it after all. Maybe she really was stronger than I thought. 3 weeks went by. Chloe started calling regularly, though the tone was different. She didn't outright ask for money anymore, but she made sure I knew how hard things were, how tough it was working at the library for $12 an hour, how humiliating public transportation felt, how her friends noticed she couldn't keep up with their expensive outings. Then, one Thursday night, she called in tears again. "Mom, I can't take this anymore. I'm exhausted from working and studying. I barely sleep. Everyone else is getting better grades because they can just focus on school. I'm ruining my future because of your hurt pride." "My hurt pride?" I repeated, anger bubbling up. "Yes, you're punishing me because I hurt your feelings. That's not fair, Mom. You're my daughter. You're supposed to support me no matter what." Unconditional support? Chloe, do you have any idea how many nights I worked overtime just to cover your bills? How many times I canceled plans to make sure you had what you needed? How many sacrifices I made so you could have everything? "I know, Mom," she whispered, "and I'm grateful." "No, Chloe, you never were grateful. You treated everything I sacrificed like it was my duty, like I owed it to you just for being your mother." "But you do! You're my mom!" And there it was, the ugly truth she'd never said out loud. She believed I owed her everything. "Chloe," I said, my voice steady, "I raised you for 20 years. I supported you, educated you, protected you, and loved you. I fulfilled every obligation a mother has. But you're an adult now. My obligations are finished." "You can't do this. Other mothers don't do this." "Other daughters don't stand in public and call their mothers failures." "I've apologized for that 1,000 times. Apologies don't erase words, Chloe. They don't undo years of disrespect and ingratitude. So that's it? You'll punish me forever?" "I'm not punishing you. I'm giving you a chance to grow, to become independent, to learn the value of what you have." "But I don't want to be independent. I want to finish school in peace." "And you can. There are student loans, scholarships, aid programs, plenty of ways to pay for an education without relying on the so-called failure mom." "Mom, please." "No, Chloe. My decision is final. You're smart. You're capable. Prove it." When I hung up, I felt no guilt, only relief. The next morning, I was sipping coffee when my phone rang. Vanessa. This time, she dropped the fake sweetness. "Laura, this has to stop. You're being ridiculous." "Good morning to you too, Vanessa." "Chloe's suffering. She's working herself to exhaustion. Her grades are slipping." "Her grades? That's interesting. She told me she's working 12 hours a week at the library. That barely qualifies as part-time." "Well, she's under a lot of emotional stress." "Emotional stress? You mean the stress of actually having responsibilities? Welcome to adulthood." "You're being cruel. A real mother wouldn't do this." "A real mother," I repeated, my anger sharp. "You want to know what a real mother does? She wakes up at 5 a.m. to work overtime so her daughter can go to college. She skips vacations, new clothes, nice dinners, just so her kid has what she needs." "I know you sacrificed." "No, you don't. You spent 4 years playing fun mom with the money I earned. You took my daughter to spas that cost more than I spend on myself in 7 months. You bought her clothes that cost more than my rent." "I was being generous." you were being generous with my money. Because every dollar Daniel blew on you was a dollar he didn't spend on Chloe. Vanessa went silent. Look, Laura, I get that you're upset, but you need to think about what's best for Chloe. I am thinking about her. For the first time in 20 years, I'm thinking about what's best long term. And what's best is that she finally learns her actions have consequences, that she can't disrespect me and still expect me to carry her. But she's your mother. Exactly. I'm her mother, not you. So quit pretending you care about her future when all you care about is keeping your role as the cool stepmom without lifting a finger. That's not true. Of course it is. You love the spotlight, but you don't want the responsibilities that come with it. You want me to keep paying so you can keep being the favorite. Our financial situation is complicated. No. It's complicated because you spend money you don't have on things you don't need. Just like Chloe, just like anyone who's never had to work for what they have. Daniel works hard. Daniel makes the same salary he did when we were married. The difference is, back then he had a wife who saved and invested. Now he has a wife who burns it all on nonsense. She hung up. 15 minutes later, Daniel called. Laura, Vanessa's in tears. You were harsh. I was honest. That's the difference. Look, I know this isn't ideal, but you can't just walk away from Chloe. How many times do I have to say it? I didn't walk away. I stopped feeding toxic behaviors. Toxic? She's our daughter. Yes, our daughter, not just mine. So where's your part in this? I give what I can. You give $300 a month? Daniel, that's less than you spent on Vanessa's last birthday party. That's not fair. You make more than me. Really? You've been a sales manager for 16 years. I've been an accountant for 15. We make about the same. The difference is I use my money responsibly and you blow it on luxuries. But Vanessa has needs. What needs? She's 28 and doesn't work. What exactly are her needs that outrank your daughter's education? He fell silent. Here's the truth, Daniel. You want Chloe to have everything, but you don't want to pay for it. You want her to respect me, but you've done nothing to teach her respect. You want me to be the responsible one, while you two play the fun parents? It's not like that. It's exactly like that, and I'm finished. You want Chloe to have a car? Buy her one. You want her to have a credit card? Put it in your names. You want her luxuries? Pay for them. And if you can't, then make choices, just like I've had to, just like any adult has to. Laura, be reasonable. I am. For the first time in 4 years, I'm being completely reasonable. I hung up and let the silence sink in. Then I did something I hadn't done in decades. I called the salon and booked a haircut and color. I called the gym down the street and signed up for yoga. That afternoon, I went to the mall. I bought 3 dresses, 2 pairs of shoes, and a makeup set. $800 gone, exactly what I used to blow on Chloe in 3 weeks. For the first time in 20 years, I spent money on myself without guilt. That night, I looked in the mirror and hardly recognized the woman staring back. She wasn't tired. She wasn't weighed down. She wasn't living her life for someone else anymore. She was a woman finally living for herself. My phone rang. It was Chloe again. But this time I let it go. She left a voicemail. Mom, please call me back. I need to talk to you. Something happened. I deleted it before hearing the end. Whatever the crisis was, she could handle it herself, or call Daniel or Vanessa, or find an adult way to deal with it. For the first time in 20 years, her problems weren't automatically mine, and that freedom felt like something I never thought I'd experience. 3 months went by, and my life shifted in ways I hadn't imagined. I started yoga 4 times a week, signed up for ballroom dance lessons on Sundays, and even began going out with friends again. Andrea, one of my coworkers, invited me to happy hour one Friday. Normally, I'd have said no, always keeping myself on call for Chloe. This time I said yes. You've changed, Laura, Andrea said as we sipped martinis in a sleek downtown bar. You're more present, more you. More me, I repeated, smiling. I had forgotten who me even was outside of being Chloe's mom. And how does it feel? Scary, I admitted, but freeing, too. That was the night I met Mark. He was at the bar with colleagues, an architect, 46, with a smile that gave me butterflies for the first time in 10 years. "Can I buy you a drink?" he asked while Andrea was in the bathroom. I lifted my glass. "Already have one." "Then can I sit with you while you finish it?" We talked for 3 hours. He was sharp, funny, and treated me like what I thought mattered. When he asked for my number, I only hesitated a second before saying yes. On our first phone call, I asked, "Do you have kids?" "Yeah," he said. "A 17-year-old son. He lives with his mom, but I have him on weekends." "You?" "I've got a 19-year-old daughter. She's in college." "Ah, empty nest stage. How's that treating you?" "Better than I expected," I admitted, and realized it was true. Our first date was dinner at a cozy Italian place. Mark opened the car door, pulled out my chair, asked me about my job, my hobbies, my dreams. I couldn't remember the last time anyone asked about my dreams. "You look surprised," he said when I told him about a recent promotion at work. "About what?" "That someone's actually interested in you, not just as a mom." He was right. Through my marriage, Daniel never cared about me as a person. I was the wife, the organizer, the mother, the background structure that kept everything moving. Somewhere along the line, I had stopped existing outside of what I did for others. "It's been a long time since anyone saw me as Laura," I admitted. "Well, I'd like to know Laura better," he said, taking my hand. Meanwhile, Chloe's calls continued, less often but sharper. She had stopped crying and begging, replacing it with resentment. "Mom, I hope you're happy," she said one Tuesday night. "I had to get a student loan since you won't help me. Now I'll leave college $55,000 in debt. This will ruin my whole life." "Chloe, that's what most students go through. It's normal." "But it didn't have to be this way. You could have kept helping." "I could have," I said calmly, "but I didn't because you needed to learn responsibility." "So what, you did all this just to punish me?" "No, to teach you independence. To teach you that you can't mistreat people and expect them to keep carrying you." $55,000, Mom? That's insane! "It's less than I spent on you in just the last 3 years. At least now you'll actually value your education because you're the one paying for it." "You've changed," she muttered. And this time her voice didn't hold anger or desperation. It sounded almost like recognition. "Yes," I said. "I've changed. And it's not temporary." 4 weeks later, Mark and I were leaving the movies when my phone rang. "Daniel." "Laura, we need to talk. It's urgent." "No, we don't," I said flatly. "Please." "Vanessa's pregnant again." I froze on the sidewalk. "And what?" "And where our financial situation is going to be tighter than ever. We won't be able to help Chloe with anything for years." "Daniel, that's not my problem." "But it's Chloe's problem. She's counting on us." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before having another baby." "Laura, be reasonable. You know how expensive children are." "I know. I raised one by myself for 20 years. You didn't raise her alone." "The hell I didn't. I covered her bills, her needs, her everything. You're physically around, sure, but the heavy lifting, that was me." "That's not true." "It is true, and you know it. So don't ask me for sympathy over a situation you created." "But Chloe!" "Chloe is an adult. She'll figure it out just like any other adult has to." "Laura, please!" "No. You made adult choices. Now deal with adult consequences." I hung up. Mark, who'd been standing next to me, tilted his head. "Family problem?" "Ex-family problem," I said with a small laugh. "They're finally realizing being an adult is hard." "And how does that make you feel?" I thought about it. Relieved. For the first time in 20 years, their problems aren't mine by default. Mark smiled. "You're a strong woman, Laura." "I'm learning," I said quietly. A week later at work, my boss Patricia called me in. "Laura, I want to offer you a promotion. Senior accounting manager. It comes with a 25% raise, but also more responsibility and some travel."
A year ago, I would have declined immediately. More responsibility meant less availability for Chloe. But now? I accept, I said without hesitation. Are you sure? I know you've always wanted flexibility for your daughter. My daughter's an adult now. It's time for me to put my career first. Tahon Cadeau. She smiled. Good. You deserve this, Laura. You've always been one of our most dedicated employees. Walking out of her office, I felt a rush of euphoria I hadn't felt in decades. It wasn't just about the money, it was about finally being recognized. Someone had noticed my work. Someone had valued my dedication. That night, I called Mark to share the news. Let's celebrate, he said. Dinner somewhere special. I'd love that. Laura? Yes? I'm proud of you. I know this transition hasn't been easy. It hasn't, I admitted, but it's been necessary. And you're doing incredibly well. For the first time in 20 years, someone was proud of me. Not for being a selfless mom, not for sacrificing myself for others, but for finally taking care of me. That night, when I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Slimmer, better dressed, confident. There was a spark in my eyes I hadn't seen in years. I was living my own life now, and it was a good one. My phone rang. Chloe. This time I answered. Mom, I heard you got promoted. Congratulations. Thank you, I said, caught off guard by how genuine she sounded. I wanted to talk. Can I come see you this weekend? Sure, but it'll have to be Sunday afternoon. I've got plans Friday and Sunday. Plans? I'm dating someone, and I have dance class on Sundays. There's a long pause. Mom? Yes. You really have changed, haven't you? Completely. Forever? Forever. Okay, I'll come Sunday afternoon. When I hung up, I realized I wasn't nervous about her visit. I didn't feel guilt or dread, just curiosity about what she'd say. For the first time in our relationship, I was in control. Chloe showed up right at 3 p.m. on Sunday. When I opened the door, I barely recognized her. She was thinner, her hair pulled back simply, wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt instead of the designer outfits she used to flaunt. Hi, Mom, she said quietly. Hi, sweetheart. Come in. She stepped inside, looking around. Wow, you, redecorated? I updated a few things, I said casually. New furniture, painted walls, artwork. The place looked different. More adult, more elegant, more me. She said it was beautiful, and for the first time in years, I heard genuine admiration in her voice. Very sophisticated. Thank you. Coffee? Water? Coffee's good. I poured us coffee from the new machine I'd treated myself to, and we sat in the living room.
Mom, Chloe began, her hands trembling. I wanted to apologize, not just for what I said at the restaurant, but for everything, for how I treated you all these years. It's okay, I said evenly. No, it's not. I was awful. I said cruel things. I disrespected you. I treated you like you were an employee, not my mom. You're right, I said. You did treat me badly. She blinked at my bluntness. I don't think I realized how much you did for me, how much you gave up. Didn't realize or didn't want to? Probably didn't want to, she admitted. It was easier to see you as the boring mom who worried about money, instead of admitting you were holding my whole life together. And now? Now I'm on my own for the first time. I'm working 20 hours a week, studying, paying my own bills, and it's so much harder than I ever thought. Welcome to adulthood, I said softly. Mom, I get why you did it. You wanted to teach me responsibility. I was teaching myself self-respect. Responsibility was just part of the lesson. She looked at me for a long moment. You're really not going to change your mind, are you? No. Not even if I beg or promise to be different? Not even then. Why? I sighed. Chloe, you're 20. In the next few years, you'll graduate, get a job, maybe start a family of your own. You'll build an adult life. And I deserve to build mine, too. But you've always been an adult. No, I've always been a mother. That's different. These past 7 months are the first time since you were born that I've just been Laura, and I like her. And who is Laura? I smiled. Laura is a woman with career goals. She loves to dance. She's in a healthy relationship. She has friends. She spends money on herself without guilt. Are you dating seriously? Yes. Mark's an architect. He's kind, smart, and he treats me like I matter. I always treated you like you mattered. You treated me like I was useful. That's not the same. Tears filled her eyes. Mom, I'm sorry. I really am. Can you forgive me? I already forgave you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean things go back to how they were. Then how will things be? We'll figure it out. You're an adult now. I'm an adult. If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be built on respect. But I'm still your daughter. Yes, and I still love you. But you're not my responsibility anymore. You're your own responsibility. Chloe wiped her eyes. I got a loan to cover the rest of school. I'll graduate owing about $55,000. How much do most of your classmates owe? About the same, she admitted. Then you're average. It's not the end of the world. Dad said he can't help because Vanessa is pregnant again. I heard. And how do you feel about that? Betrayed, she said honestly. I thought they'd always help me if you didn't, but when it came time to actually pay, they just made excuses. And what did that teach you? That Vanessa isn't as perfect as I thought, that it's easy to play generous with someone else's money. She hesitated. And about you, it taught me you weren't the failure in the story. You were the one holding it all together, and I never saw it. And now? Now I do, and I'm sorry it took so long. We spent the rest of the afternoon just talking. She told me about her job, her classes, learning to budget. I told her about my promotion, about Mark, about dance class. You seem happy, she said as she got ready to leave. I am happy, I told her, for the first time in a long time. Do you think we can try to have a normal relationship as adults? We can try, but it'll be different. Chloe, I won't be your financial safety net anymore. I won't put my life on hold for you, and I won't accept disrespect ever again. I understand, she whispered, and I accept. We'll see, I replied. A year has passed since that day at the Mexican restaurant. Now I'm sitting on the balcony of my new apartment. Yes, I moved into a bigger, nicer place, sipping coffee while I write this. Chloe graduated last month. She landed a job at a marketing firm in Boston, earning a good starting salary. She still carries $55,000 in student loans, but she has a 12-year plan to pay them off. She shares a small apartment with 3 coworkers. Our relationship has transformed. We talk twice a week, usually on Sundays. She tells me about work. I tell her about my life. No more drama, no more money requests, no more comparisons to Vanessa. Just mutual respect. Last month, she sent me a Mother's Day card. Inside was a 4-page letter. Mom, I know I was terrible to you for a long time. I know I didn't value your sacrifices. I know I hurt you deeply. But today, at 22, I finally understand what you did for me. You gave me everything, education, opportunity, unconditional love. And when I disrespected you, you still gave me the most important lesson of all, that I am strong enough to take care of myself. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I gave up on you. I cried when I read it, not from pain, but from relief. My daughter had finally grown up. As for me, Mark and I are engaged. He proposed last month on a trip to Sonoma Valley, a trip I never would have taken back when every dollar and ounce of energy went to Chloe. We're getting married in the fall, a small, elegant ceremony. Chloe was truly happy when I told her, "Mom, you deserve to be happy. You deserve someone who values you. No jealousy, no drama, just support." Daniel and Vanessa had another child, a boy named Ethan. I've heard they're struggling financially. Vanessa went back to work part-time at a department store. Life with 3 kids, a hefty mortgage, and reckless spending finally caught up to them. Chloe told me Daniel even called her, asking for money to help with the baby's expenses. "Dad, I make an entry-level salary and have loans to pay. I can't help financially." He was upset, but she held firm. My daughter had finally learned boundaries. And me? I'm a completely different woman. I was promoted again. Now I'm the accounting director. I earn more than I ever dreamed. I travel for work, something I always wanted but couldn't do when I was tied down to Chloe's needs. I have a vibrant social life. I go out with friends, joined a book club, still take dance classes. I bought the hybrid SUV I had always wanted. I overhauled my wardrobe. I get spa treatments now and I do it without guilt because I finally understand that taking care of myself isn't selfish, it's survival. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the drastic choice I made. The answer is no, not for 1 second. That decision saved me, and it saved my relationship with Chloe. If I'd kept enabling her, she never would have learned independence or respect for herself or for me. She never would have become the capable young woman she is now, and I never would have discovered who Laura is outside of being just mom. So today, as I write this, I can say with certainty, I was never the failure in this story. I was the woman who gave 19 years of sacrifice and when pushed too far, found the courage to say enough. I was the woman who chose dignity over convenience. I was the woman who realized that love sometimes means letting someone face their own consequences. Today, at 43, I am finally living the life I deserve. My name is Laura. I'm an accountant, a fiancée, a friend, a dancer, a traveler, and yes, a mother. But being a mother is only one part of who I am. It's no longer my entire identity. And that makes me not only happier, but a better mother. Sometimes the greatest lesson you can teach is that you won't always be there to fix things. Sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable weakness. I'm not a failure. I never was. It just took me 41 years to realize it. And now that I know, no one will ever make me forget it again.